Okay, Algebra 8, we are doing one of the last sections in here. This is applying the Pythagorean theorem and its converse, section 4.9. So I'm going to do just a couple of these problems, and then we're going to move on to proving whether a right triangle or a triangle is a right triangle or not. So the first thing is I'll do, these first three are looking for C, so we can treat them all the same, and then I'll do one of these two because they're missing one of the legs. So just a reminder, and we worked on this in the previous lesson, but the hypotenuse, C, is always the side across from the right angle, okay? And the legs are the two on the other side. So if we're following our a squared plus b squared equals c squared, C is the hypotenuse every single time. So for this one, it doesn't matter if I put 10 in for A or set 10 in for B, as long as I do one or the other. So 10 squared plus 7.5 squared equals C squared. 10 squared is 100. You can use your calculator here. 7.5 squared is 56.25. So if you add those together, 156.25 equals C squared. Well, I don't want to know what C squared is. I want to know just what C is. So I can square root both sides. And if I square root 156.25, I get 12.5 equals C. So that means my side for C is 12.5. It is the longest side, and 12.5 is longer than those two. So it's a good check to make sure that you're right. Okay, so then let's do one where we're missing a leg. So on letter E, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Right away, I know that my C is the 25, so I'm going to put that right here so I don't forget. It does not matter which one you put in for A or B. Since this is called B, I'll just put it in for A. 15 squared is 225. 25 squared is 625. So if we were trying to get B alone, we do have to move this 225 over to the other side by subtraction. B squared still equals then 400. You're going to get B alone just like you did C by square rooting both sides of the equation. And 400, the square root of 400 is 20. And that's your answer. Okay, so that is exactly what we were doing yesterday. Just a little recap there. So now we're going to be able to apply it. So it says cities A, B, and C form a right triangle. City A is 13 miles from city B, and city B is 19 miles from city C. The distance between city A and city C is represented by the hypotenuse. Okay, so that's going to help start us off. A and C are the hypotenuse. Okay, what is the distance between A and C? So it does say the distance between city A and B is 13. And my triangle is not to scale. This one should be longer, but you get the idea. I always recommend you to draw a picture. So they're looking for the hypotenuse C, because that's the distance. I labeled everything. So I'm going to plug it into my equation. 13 squared plus 19 squared equals C squared. 13 squared, I believe, is 169. 19 squared is 361. Add those two together. 530. Okay, and then, of course, square root both sides. So I'm going to square root 530. And I get 23 point, it says to the nearest tenth, so it's to the 0 miles. Okay. The next one, it says the height of a flagpole is 6 meters. The length of the bottom, so we've got a flagpole. Let's draw a flagpole here. Okay, we've got and it says the height of the flagpole is 6 meters. The length from the bottom of the flagpole to the end of the shadow of the flagpole. there's a shadow, and that's 12 meters. What is the length of the hypotenuse? So again, we're looking for this hypotenuse. So same stuff that you're doing before, just you have to kind of sketch it out first. So 6 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 144 equals c squared. 36 and 144, 180. And then you have the square root both sides. And I get 13.4, and it was 4.1, so it just stays at 4, and we're talking meters. Okay, this one is given to you on a coordinate plane. No different, just count your spots or spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 64. 36 plus 64 gives us that 100. Nice number there. Square root both of them. 10 equals c. So the hypotenuse is 10, and you might want to label that 10 units. Okay, so the last type are when they give you 3 numbers, you have to determine if it's a right triangle. So here are the rules. It has to make our equation true, and the longest side, C, is always the longest side. Okay, so if I was going to put this in here, doesn't matter which one is A or B, but C has to be the longest. So it's going to be 15 squared plus 20 squared equals 25 squared. Well, 15 squared is 225, 20 squared is 400, and 25 squared is 625. So then you have to answer this question. Is 225 plus 400 625? And it is. So this is a true statement. So yes, that's a right triangle. So if it comes out true, then it equals, it's a right triangle. Okay, the next one, let's try another one. So 7 squared plus 11 squared equals 13. Again, 13 is my hypotenuse, so that's over there. This is 169, 11 is 121, and 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, so 49 and 121 is 170. Does 170 equal 169? No. So then it's not a right triangle. So it's unique how they give you the sides and you just plug them in. So our next one, 10 squared plus 24 squared equals, and the 26 is the longest side. I know that these are all in order, but sometimes they might not be. So 10 squared, oops, I'm doing it, 100 plus, I don't know what 24 squared is, 576. And then 26 squared is 676. Well, 100 plus 576 is 676. So this is true. So that means, yes, it's a right triangle. So basically, you're just testing the equation.